Hi folks, it's Switchback. Today I'm going to be putting together the River Country Trekker 2, which is the tent that I use on my backpacking trips. This is a trekking pole tent. It weighs a little less than 3 pounds. I've been very happy with it. It is a single walled tent, which is not for everyone. It does take a little practice to put it up, but that's what I'll be demonstrating for you today. So if you're looking for just a real basic backpacking tent, if you're looking to just get started, this tent's a really great way to go. If your kid's wanting to go, this is so much like my dad's old pup tent that I used to use when I was a kid. And this one actually uses trekking poles and has guylines, which that one didn't. The guylines keep it from collapsing, which the old one used to do on us all the time, as you might imagine. I also really like that River Country Products is based in the United States, and I've heard really good reports about using their customer service, which thankfully I haven't had to use because I haven't had any issues with this. But everybody that I've talked to or everything I've seen online about having to contact them and deal with them on a customer service level has been good. For how much this tent costs, you sure can't beat it. If you've watched any of the videos of my trips, you know that I do in fact use this tent quite a bit on my trips. I really am happy with it. And for 60 bucks, you just can't beat it. I do have a link down below in the description, and it is an affiliate link. I get 2-4%, something like that. It's not much, but it does help keep this channel going if you're interested in doing this. I've used this tent in really, really windy conditions. I have not used it in the rain yet. I've used it, so the winds that I've seen probably up to 50-60 mile an hour winds with this without an issue. So I've been quite happy. You could use it for 2 people. I wouldn't personally. I'd just use my freestanding if there's more than one of us going. But if I were to take my dog, I would definitely take this one. I really love that it has a tarp floor, which means that she could walk around on it without damaging it. And it's also going to be waterproof. It has a bathtub floor, which also protects it from some of that rain. In order to put together this tent, you're going to need 2 trekking poles. Inside the package comes a pack of stakes and the tent. I have added guylines to the corners of mine. It makes it so much easier to put it up. And I'll show what I do when I need to use them. This tent has one door that zips, and so I'm gonna have that facing toward the tree here. The first thing I'm gonna need to do is stake out the 4 corners of it. I'm quite happy with the stakes that come with this because they're 3-sided, they're super light, and they have hooks on all 3 sides, so it doesn't matter too much which way I put them in. And also, I've been using these a while. You can see they've got some wear on them and they don't bend. I've had good luck with that so far. Since I would only be using this tent really for backpacking, I would be hammering in the stakes if I do need to hammer them in with a rock. You want to make it taut. You want to have your stakes angled where the bottom point is aiming toward the center of the tent and the top of it is aiming away from it. And that will help keep the stake from lifting out of the ground if it's windy or if there's any kind of tension put on it. So I've got the four corners staked out now. The next thing I'm gonna do is do the back and the front of the tent with a trekking pole. So I know how far it needs to extend for this particular tent and these poles, but what I'm gonna do is show you how I measure when I'm not sure. You can see that there are guylines on here. We'll be using those in a minute. This is gonna be the grommet where the tip of that pole goes in. So the handle will go down. All right, so obviously this is too short right now, but what I'll do is extend it until it seems to be about right. And I'll go ahead and close it up like that. And I can still adjust it from here if I need to. And then since I have this going toward, you can't really see it, but there's an enormous redwood right here. I'm gonna have to stake this kind of closer to the tent. So as you can see, I have this really close to a tree here, so I don't want to stake it right at the tree. I'm gonna try to do it fairly close here. In reality, you probably wouldn't want to put up your tent this close to the tree if you could avoid it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put that in the ground. You may have to look around for a spot too, especially if you are really close to a tree. But you can also use a very large rock and wrap that guy line around it and put some tension on it that way, which I've done many times. Or what you can do here so I have, you can see I've got tension on it there, and it's a slip lock here. You can see it doesn't really want to focus on this, but what I've done is I have the end of that knot here at the bottom, and then I have this is where it's slipping through, and that bit of slippage there puts tension like so. So you can see that I can tighten it further or loosen it based on what I need to do. So if I need to tighten it, I'm gonna slide it up and it stays. Hello. Now I'm gonna set up the back of the tent here. There are 3 guy lines on the back side here, and that's for ventilation. So this is gonna be the top. These 2 are for the vents. I've noticed that these 2 are shorter than this one. I keep the one for the top here much shorter so that I can use the same stake for all 3 of the guy lines. So again, I'm just gonna put this out partway on one end of it, pop that under, and then that seems about right. Do it there. And then I'm going to put in that stake here. Maybe able to just push it. Yep. Okay. And you can see that they're fairly taut, but especially if it were going to be windy, I would really want to cinch these down. So again, just slide that guy line lock up. So I loosen it above the lock a bit, and then whoops. And it always goes perfectly. There's that. We'll pop this one back on. Make sure it's taut as well. Good to go there. Now we're going to stake out the sides to make sure that we have as much volume on the inside as possible. And again, you can see that there are tree roots here, so we may have to be careful about where exactly we pop this stake. Nice and taut there. Now I'm doing the same thing on this side. Pretty taut, good to go. Let me show you around the place. You can see how staking out the sides gives it a bit more volume. You want to have it nice and straight along the top there. You don't want a lot of sag. And sometimes over the coming days, it will loosen up a bit. So I just cinch down the guy lines a bit more. And there are those vents. So there is a little bit of mesh on the other side of that. So you can kind of see there. So that gives it a little ventilation, which is nice. Here's the front door. I tend to store it with the doors open like this, just because that's how I generally have it. It's also recommended by the company that that's how you use it unless it's raining. Let me give you the grand tour. One complaint that I do have on these is that the lineage on these is a little bit too long, the little loop. And so this will come open and then the Velcro that's on it will snag up the mesh. So what I've done is I've tied a little knot in that loop and then stuck the toggle through it there. And you can see that it's nice and tight and it actually keeps the doors on really securely. And it's kept any more of that snagging from happening. So on this middle one, I do find I need to use 2 hands. Just because you can see there's not a lot of tension on it. I just kind of put my foot on there just now. But there's a little pocket there in the back where that tag is. And it really does have pretty good volume in it. I'm pretty happy with it. You can see the tarp floor here. It's pretty durable. I'll go ahead and zip that on up. When you're taking it down, you just do everything in reverse. I pull up those stakes using the guy lines. You can also scrape the dirt out of them because you don't want to transfer dirt from one location to another whenever you can avoid it. Also, if I have my mud baskets on my trekking poles, they're okay on here. But I've found that if I try to do this with my snow baskets, it doesn't work very well. So I end up having to take those off. Normally I keep rubber tips on these, but I took it off before I started filming. I like to use the rubber tips to help protect the trails, but it obviously doesn't work very well to stick it in a grommet with a rubber tip on it. Thankfully this hasn't been here long enough to have anything moist on the bottom of it, so no dirt. But if there is dirt, you can always brush it off, like with a stick. Alright, I gotta stick to my roots here. I was never raised to stuff a tent, I was raised to fold a tent. Current wisdom says don't fold the tent so that you don't create the same exact lines and corners, which create weak points. I'm still gonna fold it. Dad, if you're watching, you're proud of that. Much better. Another reason I actually like to fold it is because when I put it on my backpack, it's oftentimes on the outside. Even if it's on the inside, I like it folded because I don't take the stuff sack for it usually. It just saves me a few grams. All right, pop that in there. Ready to roll. All set. So I promised I would show what I did with these corners and guylines. I bought a separate pack of guylines and securements on there. What I did was, right here is where you can adjust it, and then you can see I've tied a loop at the bottom, just a very simple loop. And then what I do is I fish this through here. And then I can put a large rock if I can't stake the corners. It'll also allow me to do a dead man if I'm in the snow or I'm in the sand, anything like that. Let's say that I couldn't put this stake in the corner here. I could use this instead, stake it out with this guy line and then cinch it down, and then it's not going anywhere. You can see I'm pulling on it pretty good there. I've been really happy with these. I also really like that they're reflective and really, really visible, because I'm a klutz. You've seen me fall into creeks left and right. This is no exception of ways that I can be a klutz. I've even used this part of it here to stake out, but overall, these have really made my life a lot easier using this tent, and it was a very inexpensive investment. I hope you found this helpful, and again, I have a link down below in the description for both the tent and the guyline set that I bought. If you got some value out of this, be sure to give it a big like down below and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you so much. I will look forward to seeing you all in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye. And that's what I'm going to be